everybody. I'm Sophia Parola with the Garden State Film Festival, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing the people behind the making of the short film, Always for the First Time. How are you guys doing?
Great. Great. How are
you?
Good. It's so wonderful to have you guys here. I love this film so much about it. All of the elements are beautiful. It is a breathtaking masterpiece. I'm not just saying that. I love this film, so I can't wait to talk to you about it. But before we do, can you all introduce yourselves and your title in the film? We can start off with
Stephen. Go for it.
Stephen, you first.
I'm Stephen Gracia. I'm the writer.
I'm Victoria Meade. I play Elisa.
And
Well, I mean, and you.
I'm John Caliendo. I play Andre, and Victoria and I are the ones who kind of produced and made the film.
Beautiful. So humble, kind of produced and made the film. You guys did a lot more, but we'll get into that. But before we do, I'd love, Stephen, since you're the writer, can you give a little synopsis about what this short film is about?
It's based on the first meeting of Andre Breton and his future wife, Elisa, in a restaurant in New York, at a French restaurant in New York.
So how did you come up with this idea? Like, I know it's based off a play, so I'd love to pick your brain about what that writing process was like, writing the play and then adapting that to film.
Oh, absolutely. As a playwright, primarily, I am partnered with one of the other producers on the play, on the film, Michael Laporto, and we do a monthly theater event called Dialogue with Three Courts. So for the last 10 years now, we've done an evening of theater every month before the pandemic at bars in Manhattan. And so for every month, I'd have to write a series of short plays. So this was written for a Valentine's Day theater event that we did. And so I was looking at love stories that struck me in some way. And I was a big fan of surrealist art and literature, and the meeting of the two of them, where Andre just walks up and introduces himself in this very verbose way, in this very disarming way, always struck me as a beautiful love story. And for all of the baggage that surrealism carries with it, a lot of misogyny and everything, this meeting and the subsequent relationship was so powerful for the two of them that I wanted to just explore that meeting in a fictionalized way.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, you could really tell watching the film that it's almost like a theater piece in a film, which was beautiful. Did you think of John and Victoria right away to play these characters? How did we bring them on?
Oh, yes. When we had to move online, when we had to move all of our plays online at the start of the pandemic, we were thinking about pieces that we thought would work, via Zoom recorded so that people can revisit them on YouTube. And we thought about this play because it was, as it's just two people, it's just one set. And, the way the play was envisioned just at that cafe table. And we immediately thought of John and Victoria, like they could just do as a couple, as two creative people that we really admire and love having a part of our group. We're like, they would kill this, this relationship, they would just absolutely, make this a wonderful experience. So we had reached out to them and said, hey, would you like to film this? And they said yes. And then subsequently, instead of just making it as we envisioned it, which was just going to be them having a conversation filmed on Zoom, they decided to do a film version of it, an older film version of it, black and white, beautifully produced, absolutely amazing, set the bar so high for everybody that was going to film a play after them. It was just so stunning that we had high expectations because they're so incredible, but they exceeded just any expectations we had. It was just beautiful to watch them do it.
That's so amazing. John and Victoria, tell me how you got, you're just thinking, all right, let's make this a film, but how did you guys getting this script to begin with turn into what we now have at the Garden State Film Festival, a beautiful, beautiful film? Tell me about that process.
Well, the the film that Stephen was referring to just now was kind of filmed within a week, I want to say, on our old his old camera, and it was a little bit haphazard. We kind of just we did give it a lot of thought, and we threw it together in the amount of time that we had, before the deadline for them to put it up on the on online. But then I guess a year goes by and he approaches us to put that version of the film that we created to, was it Brooklyn Film
There was
Festival?
another film festival. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, wow.
we wanted a bit higher produced version.
We really, yeah, like it had been like a few months later, and we really wanted to make something, period.
Yeah.
And then when Stephen was kind enough to say, hey, I want to put the first thing you did in something, and we were like, oh, this is like the perfect opportunity. Please, like, we want to like
buy all this equipment,
yeah.
Like lighting equipment, camera equipment, all this stuff to try and make more projects for ourselves and for our actor friends and creative friends. So this was a perfect opportunity to kind of spring for all that stuff, especially in quarantine. So
learned a lot through it, and then a lot of the stuff that happens, a lot of the visual stuff is stuff that we talked about with Stephen, but also really it was afforded to us by just walking during quarantine.
Yeah.
Like we would take so many walks at night, and our, it was kind of
get
like
our juices flowing, get our brains moving.
Yeah, it was kind of meditative. And sometimes we'd be like, even like a week before we were starting to shoot it, we were like, oh God, wouldn't this be cool? Or wouldn't this be cool? Or something like that. So,
and all the symbolisms that we kind of came up with, and collaborated with Stephen on as well before actually filming it. Came by brainstorming on walks in quarantine.
That and honestly reading Andre's poetry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I mean,
there in the
sorry.
boxes, that kind of.
Sorry, so hard on Zoom. But guys, so it literally was like a two-man crew. You were not only actors, you were the DPs, the editors, the cinematographers, the lighting. I mean, it's amazing the amount of hats you guys had to wear during this filming experience. So what was that like, being all those different things as you were the characters? How long did the filming process take, and what was going through your minds? How did you guys successfully do that? Can you hear me okay? Because you are frozen. I think we're catching up to you guys. I'm going to give it some time.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Okay, it's all right. We'll edit this interview around. It's all good. Well, Stephen, since I have you here before they come back on, which I'm sure they will, Stephen, you said that this was based off of two real artists, and they did get married in real life, but you kind of fictionalized all the meeting and the dialogue they had. How long did it take you to write this, and what did you have to do to like get into what these real artists, minds, but then like make up the words that they would say? Like, what was that process like?
The funny thing about the process of playwriting for the project that we have for Dialogue with Records is I've only got about a week or two to write these things. So wow. I had already been, I'd already been reading a lot of surrealism. I'd gotten into it, again, I'd been to it when I was very young, and sort of got into it again years later. And so I was reading a lot of Breton's poetry. I was looking at a lot of Elisa's art, and I, when I knew I wanted to write this, I just sort of did a deep dive, much like John and Victoria did, into his poetry, into a lot of the different poetry and works of surrealists, to kind of imagine how something like that would go. And it's, it was really interesting because, as I said before, there's this very, very misogynistic component to surrealism. A lot of the artists that about when you think of surrealism, they're all men. And when I first got into it, I was like, oh, this is really just a genre full of men. And then further exploring, I found that there was, these incredible women in it that just never, like were pushed to the periphery of the scene and made their own work and their own voices completely separate from them, from the men, almost because they had to, because they just had to follow their muse away from where where the center of this was. And I discovered artists like Leonora Carrington, who was married to Ernst, and who was every bit the artist that he was, an absolutely amazing artist. And I started to investigate their books and read their stories and sort of get what I thought Elisa's voice would be from that.
Wow.
Just from doing those deep dives into these other people and finding these incredible sources of inspiration.
That is phenomenal. And you did that all in a week?
I think this one was 2 weeks. I think it took 2 weeks.
Oh
We did
my
2 plays that night.
gosh.
It was 2 weeks. Yeah, but it's just one of those things where we've been doing this process for a decade. By that point, we were doing it for about 6 years, and it just becomes like, well, this is the year. This is
Right.
how I've just got to drill down and
Adjust to
do
that
it.
amount of, wow.
Yeah, and
That's
put it out there.
amazing. I commend you. That is phenomenal. And John and Victoria, we got you back. Tell me about what it was like wearing all those different hats, but having to be those characters. What was that filming process like for you guys?
It was really nice having two people. That was the thing. So it was such a balance to where it was like, we'd have a monitor or something like that. We had a TV, an old college TV actually, that we hooked up to the camera as a monitor. But apart from that, it'd be like, it was a great collaboration where it'd be like, all right, let's do this. But then somebody'd say, can we try this? And say, oh, that doesn't work. Well, let's just try it anyway. Yeah, but this is stupid or something like that. So it was a great back and forth.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys kind of like while you were filming, it was like, oh, let's try. It wasn't that much planned. It was kind of like going with the flow while you were filming.
We definitely planned. We definitely made a shot list, and we definitely tried to brainstorm as much of kind of like what kind of shots that we wanted to aim for and everything. But in terms of kind of like how to set up certain lighting fixtures, or how to what was the meaning behind certain shots or whatever, things that you couldn't plan that just kind of happened in the moment, we wanted to really kind of like listen to those impulses as well. So it was kind of a mixture of both. Yeah.
Wow. I'm still blown away that you guys just got this equipment and said, let's make this into a film. And then watching it, I would have never thought it was just you two. Seemed like there was like a 16-person crew on there. The lighting was gorgeous. Each shot, you're not only hanging on to the writing, because that's why to me it was like very much like a play, because the writing itself was beautiful and you're invested in the story and the characters. But the look of the film, you could have also watched it in silent and it would have been just as beautiful. So a true collaboration. I want to talk about developing these characters. John and Victoria. John, I know you had to like put on this French accent for it. Clearly you're American. What was it like to develop these characters? Did you guys work with Stephen when it came to bringing these artists to the film?
We definitely, we had a few meetings, I think, over Zoom about kind of where we wanted to have these artists live in the world that we're creating. But ultimately, because we got the script, what was it, April of 2020, so like right when quarantine started, and then basically had the year and a half to absorb it before actually embarking on this particular project. So, and
not even knowing that we were going to, so it was just kind of in there,
just kind of marinating, subconsciously. So we sat with them for a while, not knowing we were going to revisit them, but it kind of was like coming back to an old friend, after a little while. And yeah, it kind of just felt right.
And that's the thing, that's the cool thing about Stephen, is that he always, Stephen, you're talking about like some of those other artists, and I could listen to you for hours on that, because I don't know any of these people. So when you start so it's cool because, Elisa and Andre, who I didn't know before this experience, to try and do the research into who they were and to try and find primary sources by them or even secondary sources, it's difficult, but it's exciting in that sense, because when you do find something, it's like, wow, it's like a treasure trove.
Wow, that's amazing. And I mean, I could talk to you guys all day about this because it really, there's so much I'm sure that went into this film and the making of it, but I got to wrap this up. So I have to ask you guys why you decided to submit to the Garden State Film Festival and what are you hoping audiences get out of watching it?
Oof.
Steven, you want to start?
Yeah, Stephen.
Well, as a lifelong Brooklynite, you know, I love the idea that, you know, this is the first, and it's all thanks to John and Victoria. This is my first experience with any filmmaking of my work. You know, this is, and to have that experience be someplace so close to home, you know, was incredible to me. You know, the idea that like I get to go to see it, you know, first thing that's ever gotten into a festival, first thing I've ever been a part of, gets to be in New Jersey, in Asbury Park, where I have seen many a concert, you know, and so it just feels like an extension of home for me, and to be able to be there and to see this is incredible. And I hope, you know, I hope that people who see the film sort of feel the, you know, take something away from the complexity of their love and the way they both dealt with tragedy and trauma in their lives, and you know, particularly as we're all dealing with trauma now in a real way. I hope it, you know, I hope it inspires something, you know, in anyone who sees it.
Love that, Stephen. John and Victoria, how does it feel having Always for the first time here?
I mean, pretty much echoing what he said. It's so close to home, even closer for us since we're.
For me, I grew up in Point Pleasant, so you know, Asbury Park was a big part of my life. So it was cool because we filmed it around those areas as well, some of the exterior scenes. So it really means a lot to have it be in this festival, and we're just so honored for it.
And also kind of echoing what Stephen said too about having it touch people who maybe have experienced their own trauma or something that they can maybe not specifically relate to these characters, but they can attribute some part of their own lives to them. So hopefully it can reach people.
Absolutely. I mean, and not to be corny, but I have to. I mean, it's called Always for the First Time, and we have Stephen, this is your first time doing one of your works in film. John and Victoria, the first film that you make with Inner Tree Media. I mean, the first time you got the equipment and made it, I am blown away. I mean, this is crazy that this is the first time for you guys, and it is a beautiful film. It is gorgeous. I'm sure it's going to touch many people at the Garden State Film Festival. I'm so happy you guys made this and it's accepted this year. Let me tell everyone watching how they can watch it. It will be playing virtually at the Garden State Film Festival and also in person at the Jersey Shore Arts Center at the Palia Theater, Sunday, March 27th in the Film Block, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. So I hope you all will be at the screening. I'm definitely going to be there. I can't wait for audiences to see this, and you should be really proud of yourselves because it's a beautiful, beautiful film.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being a great person and a great interviewer, Sophia.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful day.